Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to do lesson 5.9 on sales tax and tip problems. You should have your notebook, your pencil, and a calculator handy. And as usual, at any point in time, feel free to pause or go back and rewatch some of this video. So the part that we are going to be talking about today is, again, down here in problem solving. We are going to do another percent proportion that we are going to do. We're going to accurately solve for the missing part of the percent proportion and explain the relationship between the components, that kind of thing. And we're going to talk about tax and tip, which we're going to talk about more later, but that is some of the things that we are going to be talking about. So the first thing we have to come up with is what is a tip and what is tax. So a tip, and you may want to put this into your notes so that you know, is an extra payment given to someone for a service. A waiter or a waitress or somebody who cuts your hair or does your nails or cuts your dog, something like that. It's an extra payment given to someone for a service that they do. A tax, on the other hand, is also an extra charge added to, let's erase that so that I write this decently. Added to the cost of something, added to the cost that goes to city, state, or country government. It's an extra charge to pay for things like roads or buildings. If you go to Minneapolis, you're going to pay tax that helps pay for their streets and also helps pay for the U.S. Bank Stadium. They raise taxes to pay for things like that, and that's added on to the cost of something. In Minnesota, we do not pay tax on food, necessary food, clothing, things like that. That's necessary, where in some states they do. So I want this all in your notes. All of this goes in your notes. Feel free to pause the video to write it down. But again, it's going to be a very similar percent proportion that we're going to set up. The difference is down here where we added on to the original price of something. So again, feel free to pause the video and get it written down because then we are going to start working through some problems. So our first problem, we're going to set up our percent proportion because that part doesn't change. We're going to buy a backpack for $40 at the mall and we're going to pay $2 in tax. I want to know what the tax rate is, and that's a percentage. This is what we're finding out is the percent. So the total, the whole part or the whole thing is $40 and we pay just part of it in tax. So we pay $2 in tax. So we can solve it the easy way. 40 divided by 20 gives me 2. So 100 divided by 20 gives me 5. So our tax rate is 5%, and that is our answer. You don't need a label other than 5%. Now, if the question says, what did you pay in total, then you would have to add them together. So then you would take the $40 for the backpack plus the $2 in tax, and you would pay a total of $42. So let's look at example 2. Again, we're going to start out with our percent proportion with the 100 at the bottom over here. In Hawaii, the sales tax is 4%. what would be the total cost with tax of a leather coat that costs $200 in Hawaii? So we're going to start with our 4%. That goes over 100. Our percents always go over 100. The coat costs $200. That's the whole cost of the coat. I want to know how much tax I'm going to pay. So again, I can do it a couple different ways. Make it easy. 100 times 2 gives me 200. So 4 times 2 gives me $8. I'm going to pay $8 in tax. But what they want is the total cost with tax. So I'm going to pay for the coat plus $8 in tax. I'm going to pay a total of $208. And your dollar sign is your label. Let's do example 3. And again, we're going to start out with our percent proportion. Find the sales tax on a $400 Xbox 360 game system at Best Buy in Rochester, Minnesota, if the tax rate is 7%. So let's figure out what goes there. Let's start with the easy one. 7% goes over 100. Our sale, the whole sale, is $400. That's the price of the Xbox 360 game system. So easy way, multiply by 100 by 4 to get 400. So 7 times 4 is 28. So find the sales tax. That's all I need to know. The sales tax is $28. There's our answer. If I asked for the total, I would do the 400 plus the 28. So then my answer would be 428. But right now they've just asked for the sales tax. You need to be careful as to what they are asking for. Because if you give me 428, I'm going to mark it wrong because all they asked was for the sales tax. So not including how much it might cost to travel to Maine, how much cheaper is it to buy the $400 Xbox 360 game system at Best Buy in Maine, where the sales tax rate is 5%. So again, we still have a $400 Xbox game system, but now we're going to pay 5%. So we're going to set up our percent proportion. 5% goes over 100, and the $400 goes on the bottom. Again, we're still going to set it up the same way or solve it the same way. 100 times 4 gives us 400. 5 times 4 gives us 20. So we're going to only pay $20 in sales tax, where in Minnesota, if you remember on the last slide, it was 28. So it's cheaper to buy it in Maine, other than the cost to travel to Maine. Okay, let's talk about a tip. Example number 5. Again, still starting out with the percent proportion. Ricardo took his family out for dinner. The bill was $60. If he wants to leave a 15% tip, how much money should he leave? So there's our first question. How much money should he leave? The second question is, what was the total cost of the meal? So let's do this. 15% still goes on top of 100. The bill was $60. That's the cost of the meal without the tip. That's the total meal without the tip. So we don't have really a nice way to do it. So we're going to take 100 and we're going to divide it by 15. Or we can take 100 divided by 60. Either way is going to work. We're going to get 0.15 or 15 hundredths or 6 tenths, 60 hundredths. So I can multiply by 15 hundredths. And if you do 100 times 15 hundredths, you're going to get 15. So then 60 times 15 hundredths is going to give us 9. And even if I did it this way, I would multiply by 6 tenths. And 15 times 6 tenths would also give me 9. So the answer to my questions, how much money should he leave? He should leave $9. That was our tip. But what was the total cost of the meal? I would take the $60 plus the $9 tip. The total cost would be $69. So again, make sure you pay attention to which question you're answering. Example number 6. Kia wants to get a mani-pedi before going to the prom. She wants to leave a 20% tip. The cost of the treatment was $60. How much should she pay for the treatment, including the tip? So let's set up our proportion. Whoops, forgot my 100. There we go. So a 20% tip, that's going to go over the 100 because that's our percent. The total cost of the treatment was 60. That's going to go on the bottom. That's not how much we're tipping, it's the cost of the treatment. If we go this way, I can divide by 5, or I can multiply by 20 hundredths or 2/10. If I go this way, I can multiply by 6/10. So 60 divided by 5, I believe, gives me 12. So the tip she's going to leave is $12. Remember, the cost of the treatment was 60, so we add them together. She would pay a total of $72 because that's the treatment, including the tip. If you have questions, please let me know. Otherwise, let's talk homework. Either in Schoology, there's a PDF in Schoology. Otherwise, there's going to be a paper copy in class, but you're going to do the 5.9 homework, and that is going to be due at the next class. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day.